it should be dead easy. We have like a very defined idea, um, way we do things, so it shouldn't be an issue. And if anything, if they come in with new ideas, that's awesome, and we can start to embed that. But should be a quick process.
Right. So here I am with Alive after some very last minute chaos, which I'm sure you're very happy about heading into Element 3. Alive, there's a lot of talk because we did an interview earlier about how this is a long term project and you haven't made a lot of roster moves. All of a sudden, there's a last second roster move. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on and how will this impact the team?
What's going on is we're now in that process. Like quickly, we've shortlist of four names, I think, already. We're starting today, so recording. So that's Sunday. Today is the first day of it. Just trying to narrow this down, get it in, get it on. It happens. Mason thought it'd be best for his development, his growth as a player, to over to. I don't know if it's been announced yet,
Yeah,
so
don't
I'm not
think
going to
so.
say anything. But he thought it'd be best for him to move there. And I'm not going to stop him. We're not going to cause a ruckus. He thinks that's best for his development. You know, I wish him all the best of luck because he is a great lad. So
Yeah. And so, what is this? How does this affect the team? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was Focal was the IGL, or has it kind of changed since the Fens
so
pickup? And like, how does it affect the calling structure? Like the roles Fens was filling out.
yeah. So one of the reasons we brought him on in the first place was how vocal it was, and it went from Focal being the old school IGL to Focal taking more closed game and Fens kind of like open game starter and stuff. Thank for us in that department. A has started before anyway start taking more and more of the open game responsibility anyway, so it's not like we desperately need another IGL because it just slightly shifts to Bay, but if we can have another vocal player, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. What do you think about the new format, like the 3-3 splits with that timeout in the middle? What do you think about this? Because this is Elements the first time we're going to see this format. It's effectively, I'm assuming, getting tested as
Yeah,
a like primer to see if it's worth implementing in like Pro League.
I'm pretty torn on it. The 3-3 itself I think is pretty cool, especially for casual viewers. Uh, it seems closer for longer instead of having these like 5-1 skyscraper halves and then casual viewers will turn it off.
Yeah.
So now it'll be like 3-3, you get the half, or it's something. So it'll keep them engaged for longer. I think from like a competitor side, it's not too dissimilar. It's maybe a little bit more difficult to get into kind of the rhythm and the flow of a half.
Yeah.
Um, and the timeout's kind of nice because then we can discuss changes and stuff. But the apprehension I have going into it is the sight lock. There isn't one. So you'll probably see Oregon games. It'll be basement kids, kids, basement kids, kids, rinse
Yeah.
and repeat. And
So
so you
so
won't
you're
see tertiary sites.
so you share a similar worry that Jesse kind of put out there, where it's like we could see some really boring games on like an Oregon or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it's not. The one thing I would like to see is that lock carry over. I don't know how they'd implement it in the actual game itself because I'm not sure if the settings are there for it.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would maybe like to see it lock once you play it rather than you win it. So it
Okay.
forces a tertiary site out every single quarter.
Yeah.
Um, but with the way it is, there's some good, there's some bad. I think it's just let's see how it works.
Yeah. So do you think this is like a? Do you think this benefits the better team, or does this actually help the worst team? Because some people would say like if you got a worse team with a weaker mental, maybe going down 2-1 or whatever on a skyscraper attack split is easier to bounce back from than say a 5-1
Yeah,
skyscraper attack split where you have to deal with like the knowledge of, oh damn, they're only 2 rounds away and we're six or whatever. Like, do you think that benefits the weaker team, the stronger team?
I think it just depends. I think that can definitely come into it, but at this stage, if you are a team and you go down 5-1 and a half, and then you sit there and quit, then what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Um, I think it actually helps teams that have a small bag, if that makes sense. Like if they have like drilled, just say their Oregon basement and their kids to like the extremes,
Yeah.
and they have that nailed, but they don't have a tertiary site, they're not going to get hurt on that. They're probably going to become very very strong. But then teams that spend time on the tertiary sites may be hurt by it. But I think at the end of the day, the better teams are going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Like it's not going to drastically change shit.
I know you're probably a little bit biased by this, but that extra timeout in the middle of a game, I know I've always been of a mindset that like we probably need another timeout, and if that means that we take 30-second timeouts instead of 45-second ones, that might be worth the sacrifice just so the coach gets a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more influence in the game. We get to see that in action now, and I don't think it comes at a sacrifice of how much time you get per timeout. What do you think of that extra timeout, and what kind of room does that give you as the coach to maneuver with?
Uh, hmm. So from the coaching standpoint, I think it's kind of nice because obviously we can then tweak things for the second half. But in a way, it hurts because you may have just got into the flow of the half, and then you're stopped. It's almost like a rehost,
Yeah,
um, which has actually hurt us in the past. The oxygen game in the LCQ, for example.
yeah.
So it's a bit of double-edged sword. Yeah, it's kind of nice to chat things over, but we want to keep things rolling as well.
We've seen some more of the Element 3 qualifiers. We know more of your competition that's going to be coming into this tournament. What are your thoughts on some of the Tier 2 competition and some of these teams that are coming through the qualifiers? Like, what are your thoughts on the competition, as it were?
In regards to the T2 teams, they're looking kind of more hitting their stride now, I think, a little bit with Ariel kind of seem to get their act together a little bit after that kind of started. It was a little bit and now it seems to be working well. We can't seem to beat Makers, which is annoying, but we should do it now. And then JJ, his team, I know he was going through some struggles with that, but just with how it was working. Um, I think our favorite phrase was it was kind of bagless at the time, but I think they've kind of sorted that. So
I mean, he knows how
I
to
think
do a
it should be
money
strong.
spread. He knows how to do a money spread. So,
Yeah, look, I don't just like American money looks fake, or if just his spread was fake. But I'm not gonna call JJ out. But but no, like it all looks strong, but all looks very beatable. There's no T2 teams this going, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna win this, or like the top T2 spot and stuff like that. I think with the right pickup will be that, or like with the four, no, we can be for without the right pickup if that makes sense.
yeah. And
So
how do you?
we'll be pushing there, and then the qualifier teams. There's like some pug stacks, so we're going to be expecting some kind of monkey plays out of them. I know they'll be pushing it, um, but we kind of view them more as skins. We have to respect them. We have to take it serious, but we should be beating them.
Yeah. And how do you think, you mentioned that a lot of these T2 teams are hitting their stride but are also beatable. How do you think T2 and your team as well, how do you think you stack up against the T1 teams and, are the T1 teams beatable? Like is there opportunity for some T2 upsets here?
Yeah, I mean everyone's beatable. Like it's a game of Siege anyway. You've gone up against the worst people on the planet, and then you've dropped a clanger, and you've lost against guys you shouldn't lose against. Like
Yeah.
not extreme, but our TPL season where we didn't even fucking make playoffs because we were ass. Like it's an example of teams can get beat. I expect to see a couple of the upset, especially in the round robin phase. I think the SSG should sail through. I think Oxygen, depending on how that holds, could be challenging, but I think they're all there to be had. Being completely realistic.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's see. What do you think? Some of the improvements. Obviously, this is a little bit dampened due to the nature of the changes that you've seen recently. But what do you think some of the improvements and benefits of like this team sticking together have been? And do you think it'll make the transition of picking up a new player be faster?
Oh, it should be awesome. Like, it should be so quick because I've had just since I've been there, I've had Focal, Jet, and Winston there the entire time. They've been there longer than I've been here. So that core, like, you can swap out the other two, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and it still be that core, that kind of idea, and it should be okay. See, if we lose players like Bay, and that'll change things. But it should be easier to embed, and then especially with A still, with like the four of us, then or them, I don't fucking anyway,
Yeah.
the four of them there. It should be dead easy. We have like a very defined idea, um, way we do things, so it shouldn't be an issue. And if anything, if they come in with new ideas, that's awesome, and we can start to embed that. But should be a quick process.
Cool. And then, uh, what are the expectations for this roster? Especially, slotting in a new player should be easy, but we were talking about it before the interview. Should be and are not always the same. So, like,
Yeah.
what are your expectations for this event? And, how far do you think you guys can go?
Clearing Swiss is the first hurdle. I think that has to be the bare minimum. Like, if we don't clear Swiss, that means we've lost to fucking LATAM teams and T3 pug stacks. Like, not to be disrespectful, but with the caliber of players that we've got, and we should be, walking through it. I know maybe at the start the Swiss station might not be as smooth, but we should walk through it.
Yeah.
Realistically. Other than that, we'll just see how far we go in Robin, see how many maps or games we can take off those T1 teams. And then the goal, obviously, for all of the T2 teams is be that top two dog. Um, if you're not aiming for that at this level, then what the fuck are you doing?
That's
Like,
true. That's true.
it's the goal for all of us. But yeah, we'll see how things pan out. Like, obviously, we've got to be a bit realistic, especially at the start of the season, just with the player change. But I think we're gonna be good.
Right. And then just to close out here, is there anything you want to say? Any challenges you want to issue to friends, enemies, former teammates that are simultaneously neither and both? Mr. B, we're going to go flawless statements, sponsor
No,
obligations, whatever it is, it's all on the table.
I really look forward to playing SG because obviously we're spending a lot of time with them. Got like days booked out with them. Where me and Call out will be taking things, so that will be super exciting. Other than that, we respect everybody but fear no one. Like being like obviously we'd like to beat Fens and his new team. Um, but I respect them. I wish them all the best. Genuinely, just they can fight it out for a second. That would be lovely, and then we'll just.
Alrighty. And we are